This is a teen store as well. There's pretty much nothing left in there. We've got people playing pianos inside this building. The window's gone. Piano, upright piano down. Again, we're going to keep just trying to walk.
Stargirl is drunk, or it's the writers that are drunk and or on drugs. I don't know, this is gonna be a lazy video, but considering all the resources that went into developing this show, it's kinda dumb how stupid it is to willing to characterize his characters as drunkards. I'm not even British, but the only words I can use to describe most of these characters is the word drunk. If a character isn't intoxicated with power and their obsession with power, they are drunk with stupidity and pig-headed, not learning from their adversaries. And when I say they, I mean Courtney Whitmore, aka Stargirl, the teenage superheroine who created a scenario where an innocent teenage boy died, then tries to twist the narrative and make it all about her, and completely sidesteps the guilt associated from being a superhero, then declares the reason why she has to keep fighting is because that innocent teenage boy died. But again, it's her fault. But again, thinking about this scene logically, or me thinking about this wishfully, if Stargirl wasn't so stupid and reckless and came up with the plan to fight Icicle instead of going balls to the wall, maybe Icicle would have never caused the accident that killed that little boy. But the worst part of it all is the main character uses the death of this innocent person to justify creating an ensemble cast of characters, because all the Arrowverse shows are an ensemble cast of characters where the characters make the same mistakes because of course they do. It's like Stargirl doesn't care who dies unless she gets to play hero with her friends at the loser table, who are just as untrained as she is fighting supervillains while not listening to the person who was actually a superhero, Stripey, which is a dumb name. To explain some of this, let me give you some background information about Courtney Whitmore, also known as Star Bitch. Courtney was the daughter of Sam Curtis and Barbara Whitmore. Born and raised in sunny California, her parents broke up and Barbara got remarried to a man named Pat Dugan. The family moved to Blue Valley, Nebraska, and Courtney did not like the move or her new stepdad because he touched her at night. I'm just pulling your leg, but while rummaging through her stepfather's belongings, she found Sylvester Pemington's old equipment, realizing her stepdad used to be Stripey, the only adult sidekick to a teenage hero in history. This is something that he shouldn't be proud of, and because he was such a dumbass, this fills Courtney with joy, and she had the new means to get back at him and ridicule him. I'd ridicule the man too. But anyway, Courtney dons the star-spangled outfit and the patriotic-themed Spirit Week dance to mock her stepfather, but coincidentally, they were attacked by Dragon King's minions. Diggin used his newly built stripe armor to help Courtney stop them and save the day. Afterwards, the two decided they would form a new super duo, Star-Spangled Kid and Stripes. Think about that. You're a grown-ass man, you're being ridiculed and you're put in a demeaning position, and here you are quarterbacking for a teenage kid who's in charge of you. Might as well take the character's balls away and just stash them away in her purse. But what I am assuming was not most commonly known about the Stargirl character is that she was created by Geoff Johns, who is said to have based her personality on that of her sister, who tragically died in the TWA Flight 800. Thus, when I say this, I mean no offense, and I'm trying to say this in the most respectful way that I possibly can. However, Geoff Johns is the last person to be writing a Stargirl television show because of his bias towards the character. Comic book counterpart works because most of the stories and trials and tribulations the characters can be put through is streamlined by design by nature of comics. However, the television show elevates Stargirl capabilities to Mary Sue levels. I'm not sure if Johns is imprinting his sister onto the character, but either way, if he's not, all the conflict presented in this show have the gravity of a paperweight. And because Geoff Johns is the primary writer or executive producer of the core narrative, the end result of Stargirl's character is just an unlikable, unrealistic Hail Mary character that has her hero's journey stuck on fast forward with no red lights. Unrealistic in the fact that Stargirl's character is unequivocally obsessed with being a superhero, but fails to recognize that heroes die. More importantly, people die. For example, what makes Spider-Man an interesting character in the comic books is that he understands the guilt associated with having the abilities he has and not using them to help people. But beyond that, his compassion and empathy for for others is genuine. Meanwhile, the difference between Stargirl and Spider-Man is that Stargirl is indifferent to the suffering of others and does whatever she damn well pleases because she can, and is without consequence, thinking how her actions directly affect other people. Whereas Oliver Queen from Arrow season 1 through 5 took 5 seasons to become the Green Arrow and proficient using a bow and arrow, while trying to juggle a double life which ultimately leads to disaster. Characters like Stargirl and Batwoman come in like a whirlwind with zero experience, being experts in combat without problem or issue, toppling over all their problems like they're boulders crushing bystanders standing on a hill. And though some characters self-destruct like they do, such as Daredevil, they do it because they'd rather be heroes than villains, thus explaining why Matt Murdock almost alienates everyone he meets with his noble Catholic guilt, and why Oliver Queen does what he does most of the time in seasons of Arrow. But for Stargirl, like Batwoman, everything works out all the time because the supporting characters accept how maladjusted they are without any issues. During episode 1 of Stargirl, which takes place during the holiday season, the Justice Society of America's headquarters is attacked by the Injustice Society, who wipes out their JSA counterparts. Pat Dugan, sidekick to the hero Starman, who's an actual man, arrives to find his friends dying and helps him escape. Starman tells Pat to keep his cosmic staff safe until he can find someone worthy to be the successor to rebuild the Justice Society of America. This is how that goes.
With honor and strength, must carry the torch. I'll try. Not you, not you, not you, not you.
3, 2, 1. Troy and Abed in the morning, and we're back. Look who's here, Jeff Winger. Jeff, how do you stay so fit?
Diet, exercise, genetics.
Sure.
But someone out there will. I mean, you can't do it.
NANI?
Now, if I was Pat, I would have pissed in his mouth, took the staff, and joined the Injustice Society of America. In less than 5 minutes, the show manages to massively disappoint, and everything I want to say sounds trite, to where the only words I can use to describe such a scene is that it's incredibly fucked up. Because as a supporting character, and as a mechanic, Pat has a penchant obsession to help others, to the point where he appears to be simping, and he's less than inspired superhero named Stripey, serving as a sidekick to a young hero known as Star-Spangled Kid that would be later known as Starman, who later becomes the sidekick to his stepdaughter, piloting a 15-foot robot called Stripe. Can you even imagine that? Does that make sense to anyone? The stepdad being the sidekick to the stepdaughter. A middle-aged man being the sidekick to a teenage girl. I wouldn't blame Pat for becoming a villain considering how degrading the position he's in. But the worst aspect of it all is that every character treats Pat like a doormat, to the point where I'd wallow in my own misery for a couple of minutes each day considering the way of life he's living. The self-loathing would be off the charts. If anything, Pat should be mentoring Courtney, because she's a strong, independent woman, just like all the other female protagonists that are great, like Rey from Star Wars. She doesn't need no man or advice from anyone who was a superhero sidekick for several years and watched these said individuals die horrifically. Again, you'd expect with Oliver Queen being publicly exposed as Green Arrow and his biography existing, she'd read up on the facts that being a superhero isn't a game. For Courtney's character, she treats everything like a game, where she gets off on all the cheap thrills she feels when she's smashing someone's skulls in, and it's annoying. She doesn't understand the responsibility of being a superhero, and she probably won't until she gets beaten half to death, or someone files a lawsuit against her because she caused someone's death. Because at this point in the story, several people have died horrifically, but she continues to fail to understand that these people will kill her. She's drunk, and with Pat's kind-hearted and brave strongman sense of loyalty personality type, it only elevates Star Bitch's bitchiness when she's blatantly ignores all of his advice. But continuing from the prior, why is Starman's death like this? It's not supposed to be funny, but it is. And what this scene does is completely undermines Pat's character, making him seem like a vegetable. But hey, maybe Starman doesn't want him to be Starman because he wanted him to live out a normal life. But if that were the case, this could have been reworded very differently and wouldn't sound like a gag reflex from someone choking on their own bullshit. But again, trying to sympathize with Bat Dugan's character character, it's just like screaming into a toilet bowl. So why would anyone care if someone pisses all over him after that happens? Reiterating this, by the way, the entire Justice Society of America gets murdered besides 2 people. Courtney Whitmore learns that her father, Sam Curtis, could not make it home for Christmas because he's affiliated with a street gang and not Starman like the story would have you believe. Anyway, 10 years later, Courtney's mother, Barbara, is remarried to Pat Dugan as he moves his stepfamily to Blue Valley. Now again, the story would have everyone believe Starman was Courtney's father, but I honestly don't believe a little soft cuckboy simp like Pat Dugan has the balls to slide his dick into Starman's wife for revenge for the way Starman treated him in his final moments. Hell, I'd be surprised if he was secretly the bad guy this entire season, but a little soft police boy like him? Nah. Anyway, after a bad first day at Blue Valley High School, Courtney accidentally stumbles upon the box containing the cosmic staff in her basement. It takes her to the Blue Valley Drive-In Theater where Courtney puts on a mask and terrorizes the city. Specifically, this one character named Henry King Jr. and blows up her car because she's a bitch. Then returns home where she's confronted by Pat, who admits his involvement with the JSA. Meanwhile, Henry informs his dad, Henry King Sr., about the incident, leading him to don his old Brainwave uniform. Then finds Courtney, who happens to be training with the cosmic staff, and Courtney is attacked by Brainwave before Pat saves her in his robot armor suit, aka Stripe. It's at this point into the narrative that you believe Stargirl would develop a sense of fear of Brainwave, considering, you know, he almost killed her, but nope, you think the storyline would be about her overcoming fear, but it's not. She decides she needs to wear a costume and fight bad people because she believes Starman is her father and wants to avenge him. Though Pat constantly tells Courtney Starman's not her father, she doesn't care, and Courtney deludes herself into believing that he is because of course she does, and the story has to justify her heroicness because why not? Again, I love to reiterate this, that if Starman is Courtney's father, that means Pat Dugan made a galaxy brain play and immediately after Starman's death slid into his wife's panties and took over the family. First off, that sounds like a plot in itself. Secondly, heroes don't do that, or I don't know any that have actually done that, but heroes don't do that. Villains do that. Thirdly, if this truly is the case, Pat is truly fucking diabolical. But overall, there's a lot of stupid things in the first episode of this show, like the writer's misunderstanding of how high school works and the idea that anything in this episode is plausible, let alone reasonable character-wise. The important information that you need to know is that 𝓲𝓽𝓮-𝓢𝓽𝓪𝓻, his name is Icicle, who is literally a cold-hearted, meticulous man with a set goal to make America great again through his Project New America, which he's willing to achieve at all costs because the birth of his son and the death of his wife a couple of years back changed him into a more emotionally complex person with developed morals and values, however so twisted. I'm not gonna try to dub this up. The man's fucking evil. His goal seems to be to make America better and safer for his son, believing that his righteousness allows him to take and kill anyone who interferes with his schemes, even kids. This asshole kills kids, man! Kids! And he sits there and he laughs about it. He didn't even have to. He just saw an opportunity to be evil and depraved and he fucking did it. Killed a fucking kid, man. I mean, look at this. You must be wondering, what was Stargirl doing when this was happening? Let me see, nothing! She was just standing around, and like I said priorly, the death of this kid sparks the great idea for Stargirl to create more characters that could potentially die by reforming the JSA. There's no fear, there's no grief, there's no crying or tears, there's no emotional breakdown, she's just a star bitch! I don't know if she's on drugs, I don't know if she's drunk, I don't know if she's not taking her vitamins or medications in the morning, but this show is all about Star Bitch's ego and how callously she treats everyone else around her. It's her way or the highway, or you just die. But all the other villain characters are kind of irrelevant besides Dragon King. I mean, there are characters like the Gambler, Solomon Grundy, Sportsmaster, and Tigress, but they ain't really doing much nor offering anything intriguing to the story if you consider some of the characters having children Icicle can kill, then yeah, they're one-dimensional and exhaust my patience just like the main character does. For example, in episode 2, Pat tells Courtney that JSA member Our Man survived the attack that massacred the JSA and had been secretly searching for the Injustice Society across the country, which is America. Thus they moved to Blue Valley. That doesn't sound like a galaxy brain move, moving to the place where you hunted down some supervillains but believed they left, so you moved your entire family there. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now why aren't you moving your entire family out of Blue Valley now that you know that all the supervillains are there? Well, that's because the narrative says I can't, and because of course I don't. The most disturbing part about all of this is that we later found out the ex-superhero named Rex lived in Blue Valley, then he and his wife were killed in a completely not suspicious car crash that was not suspicious. Of course, just like how the bridge got iced over magically, just like how the truck that hit that kid got iced over magically, just like how he died magically. Nothing suspicious here. But returning back to the narrative of episode 2, Pat advises against Courtney seeking out Brainwave using the cosmic staff because she's stupid, and despite her almost getting killed, she doesn't care because her character is secretly suicidal. I don't know, but what happens next is kind of important. Courtney destroys Starman's old uniform to create her LOL Cutesy Pie heroine outfit, which is the equivalent of cutting up a US military uniform just to turn it into a piece of origami. And the idea that Pat's character is perfectly fine with this, with Courtney destroying the part of the legacy of his dead friend, despite him treating him like trash in his final moments, is completely unnerving considering this character has saved an unbelievably high amount of unspecified lives without anyone knowing about it, with Courtney basically puking all over his legacy. While the remainder of the episode is your stereotypical affair of 𝓕𝓲𝓿𝓮. Brainwave finds Courtney's damaged school ID card at the site of their prior battle, and while attending the high school open house, Brainwave confronts Courtney and threatens to kill Barbara unless she brings him the cosmic staff. But it's also said that this character has the ability to cause brain aneurysms, that's having the ability to kill anyone by cutting off the oxygen being delivered to their brain, meaning this character could have killed Stargirl whenever he pleased, but doesn't because of course he doesn't. Now, it's understandable that Brainwave wants the cosmic staff for 𝓕𝓲𝓿𝓮 reason, but couldn't he just inception the information out of her mind, breaking into her house and stealing it? Apparently not, with a sucky telepath. But considering Stargirl fights Brainwave later and short circuits his powers, leaving him in a coma and almost killing him, which Courtney doesn't care about of course, which she should considering she's a teenager who just about almost committed murder, but oh well, she's just a 5-star bitch. I mean, this character sucks. This is also around the time as well when Stargirl asks Pat to become her sidekick, changing his codename from Stripey to Stripe, which again, I would have just slapped the girl and laughed in her face, but Pat does it and he just says okay. I mean, the overall audacity of the question warrants to ask if she's drunk or not, but Pat just doesn't care, because in the next episode at school, Courtney meets an inspiring magician named Joey Zarek and classmate Yolanda Mendez, who gets slut-shamed by her classmates, which will be important in the next episode. But long story short, Icicle correctly guesses that Stargirl will leap at any opportunity to catch him, then fails at his initial attempt to kill Stargirl because he was really trying to kill her and he doesn't, so he uses a school bus full of children to escape their fight, and though Pat is able to save it from plunging into the water causing everyone to drown, he and Courtney are unable to save Joey from being hit by a truck, thus killing him, which we already saw. Again, I'd like to point out, again, it's at this point in the story you'd believe this character would realize this isn't a game, but she doesn't, and she continues to run around in her new onesie playing superheroine. At this time also, Pat finally gets an opportunity to try to convey this to her stepdaughter, explaining that people die when they are killed, showcasing to her the dead and nearly forgotten legacies of his friends, having a heart-to-heart, and it's a very emotional moment, saying no more superheroine until I say so, and formulate all these plans so we can take out all these members of the ISA. But Star Bitch tells Pat you can go fuck right along with that plan, but I'm gonna do what I want, like she's on drugs or she's drunk, and refuses to listen to Pat because of course she does, and decides to steal the deceased JSA members' paraphernalia and uniforms so she can find their successors, who are basically untrained teenagers who most likely won't die for plot reasons, as of now. If you're noticing a common trend amongst this story, it's that the Injustice Society is full of actual hardened, hardcore killers, while the protagonists are just soft and squishy teenagers with no training or experience in anything but being teenagers, and their senseless drama. As it's revealed in episode 4 that 3 months prior to the events of the narrative, Yolanda Mendez became an outcast after her rival Cindy Burnman leaks a risque photo of her to the whole school. Does everyone slut shame her, which I don't understand why? It's 2020. You got your LGBTQ+, ABC, XYZ, and whatever other letters of the alphabet there are in there. Then you got your hardcore feminist progressives. Then you got the category of people that just don't care. That's where I fall in line. There's plenty of online women now turning their sexy feminine bodies out for tricks with risky photos and living pretty up in their high castles with their feet kicked up from cosplaying as fictional characters or just showcasing how sexy they are. I've even heard of some chicks making $300 from feet pics. God forbid what these people are doing with these pictures, but that's still a lot of money. And considering how some men are out there simping, if you look sexy, let me tell you might as well get yourself a coalition of simps and you're living on recruit mode right there. Who gives a damn about what anyone else says? Now, for argument's sake, because these characters are teenagers and teenagers in high school, and considering the last time when I was in high school, which wasn't too long ago, I can tell you for certain, nobody would care about this kind of stuff. People were too busy having sex in the bathroom and blazing up getting high on cocaine in class, not caring about the avalanche of consequences that were behind them. My high school was so wild. Some of the teachers were fighting some of the students. There was fires in the cafeteria. People just didn't care. Therefore, I highly doubt slut shaming is even a thing, unless Yolanda had at least 10 different dicks inside of her over the course of one semester. Secondly, not everyone has everyone else's cell phone in high school, so that's just a cliche that just doesn't make any sense. But because Yolanda has Catholic parents and is gotten back to her parents that Yolanda sent naughty photos to a boy at school who in actuality didn't leak said photo, hate her because of it. But what happens next is like the writers are blowing into a cheap kazoo, and Starbitch and the newest Wildcat, who was Yolanda, used their mutual contentment of Henry Jr., who is the son of Henry Sr., who is Brainwave, and Henry Jr., who assumably leaked these photos of Yolanda, but actually didn't, becomes the new Wildcat so she can enact her revenge fantasy onto this Henry Jr. character. But I may remind you as well, this Yolanda character has zero superheroic experience, and this is the equivalency of someone running into a burning building without any fire training. Because what's built up upon in every episode is that assumably Henry Jr. has the same powers as his father, Henry Sr., who is Brainwave, meaning that Henry Jr. assumably has telekinetic powers. Blah 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 happens. Oh wait, that blah 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 is kind of important. So what happens here is that you have to remember that Courtney recruited a character who was bullied into her vigilante squad. So after indoctrinating her into the character, Yolanda complains that Wildcat Super Zero suit stinks. But then I remember that because he died in it, it makes sense that it does stinks. Then it occurred to me that Starbitch never told Yolanda that someone died in that suit. Let that sink in. Following this, like the Shazam movie, they test out all of Wildcat's powers, but because Starbitch is such an incompetent character, she doesn't know what any of those are and has to look them up on Wikipedia because she's stupid and should have done it beforehand. Then tells Yolanda to jump off a building because that's what Wildcat does, and she read that Wildcat has that power on Wikipedia, which is not a reliable or reputable source of information because my high school teachers wouldn't let me use Wikipedia nor my university professors. Guess what? That's what Yolanda does anyway. I swear Stargirl has a rooster as a brain. Yolanda doesn't necessarily do it as in jump off a high skyscraper, but she crawls up a hospital building, which is just as much as dangerous considering she's never done that before. So if you thought Courtney revealing her identity as Stargirl to Yolanda was dumb, when the two characters sneak into the hospital to spy on Henry Sr. hoping to find some ISA members throughout the visitor seat, thinking that because Henry's dad is a supervillain, there's most likely other supervillains visiting him, because yeah, I imagine Icicle writing down Icicle on his visitor sheet visiting Brainwave in the hospital, and while he's at it, he might as well write down his body count on a piece of paper too. But anyway, Courtney's plan, let me spell this out to you real slow, is to shut down the power of the hospital so she can go sneak a peek at the receptionist's visitor sheet so she can know who's visiting Brainwave. But that's beyond stupid, and Yolanda has to explain to Star Bitch, a high schooler, why that's a bad thing. Because turning off all the power in the hospital would kill everyone that's on life support. Following this, there's the LOL cutie pie joke where Yolanda's all like, how long have you been doing this superhero thing? How long has your dad been training you? Why the hell didn't you know that? Of course, Star Bitch answers, you know, I've been doing this for like a week. Of course my dad didn't train me because I'm living up to his legacy and blah 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 blah. It's all stupid. What happens next is that Yolanda tries to kill Henry Jr., but she finds out that he's a human being with actual emotions and isn't able to go through with it. The very idea that this was on her mind proves to the point that Pat Dugan is consecutively right. Star Bitch is not ready to be a superhero, and she should be Pat's sidekick. And I don't know why she's not. She's proliferating technology to people that obviously don't deserve any of it, and she's just doing whatever the hell she wants, and she's getting away with it, and I don't understand why. I want to understand why, but the story isn't interested in telling us why. This isn't even the stupidest thing showcased during this episode. The very fact that these characters believe that they had to suit up in their onesies to read a visitor log in a hospital is a level 300 power move, when they just could have gone to the hospital and read the visitors list themselves as their normal civilian identities, visiting Henry Jr., who's visiting his dad, to comfort him. Very emotional, very compassionate, something a normal superhero would do. But considering this is a visitors list as well, do you really believe a supervillain wouldn't leave behind a false name or some random person they met living in another state or something? Or do they really believe they would have wrote down their real name? So at this point, after that's all said and done, if Yolanda's character had a shred of anything that amounted to something that can be considered an intelligence, she'd refuse being Wildcat and live out her days as a normal girl, because again, people have been killed and seriously hurt because of Star Bitch. It shouldn't be too difficult for this character to glue two brain cells together and to discover that everything that has happened over the course of about 2 weeks in this universe is Stargirl's fault. But no, here's Yolanda is jumping off buildings and climbing up walls like she's Spider-Man all yippee-doo-dah-day, because it's revealed that her Hispanic parents suck because she sent those news to that boy that destroyed their credibility everywhere. They can't go to church without people laughing at them, people talk about them behind their back, blah blah this, blah blah that, so they treat the daughter like trash. I mean, Yolanda's parents are so aggressive towards her, they might as well just disown her at this point. So consolidating all this information together, Yolanda wants to be Wildcat because of course she does, and because of freedom, and some other emotional BS. Meanwhile, another character named Beth Chapel, who has an extremely confusing and obsessive relationship with her mother, like she was a female Norman Bates, spots Yolanda and Stargirl and recognizes them as they make their exit because one, Stargirl caught Yolanda while she was Wildcat, making her the newest Dr. Midnight because why not? Overall, this show is very frustrating, being very stupid considering almost all the characters that are supposed to be heroes are motivated by ego. It's not great, it's not good, it needs to slow down all the characters' heroes' journeys and take its time to tell an actual story. I don't have a problem with superhero shows. I love Netflix's Daredevil and Punisher, and sections of Arrow, but those are superhero stories done properly with writers that understand these characters on a very religious level. Stargirl is a mangled corpse with tape holding it all together. It's a disgrace to its source material. People are constantly under the impression that superhero medium is suffering the fatigue after the MCU ended. That's completely incorrect. There is no such thing as superhero fatigue. I've been reading comics since forever, and I have never once felt tired from reading them. The problem is that that the writing is so horrendous and the storylines are just so stupid sometimes. People are tired of watching the same thing over and over with characters that are emotional black holes motivated by the narrative and not their character. Most of Stereo Hero's character and narrative is based around just naivety and stupidness when the characters are morally incorrect. I really don't have anything else to say. The story and the characters speak for themselves. They're drunk, they're on drugs. Either way, these characters need to get their shit lined up.